All right. Welcome to UFC Fight Night BJ Penn versus Yair Rodriguez prediction video. Once again, because of the echoey audio, we're going with the fight card in front of you and me talking over it. And I hope everyone likes it. Um, just a couple of quick notes on this card. This, of course, is the card that was supposed to have Jimmy Rivera versus Brian Caraway on it, and then Caraway got hurt, forcing the option for a replacement fighter to be named, which wound up being Marlon Vera. Shit kind of hit the fan at that point because Jimmy Rivera originally accepted the fight, and then after talking with his coaches, he used a line about he didn't want to be a bully about the whole thing, which is pretty true. I mean, if we really think about a Marlon Vera versus Jimmy Rivera fight, how interesting is that fight from an outcome standpoint? It really is Rivera beating the crap out of a guy who um, really isn't, arguably isn't even UFC material, never mind ranked fighter material. And fans have really reacted to that kind of poorly. They've been really pointing out. I mean, mind you, they do have one good point. Is that in his speech he kind of talks about Vera having to pay for an operation for his daughter to give her a great deal increased quality of life, and that if Rivera were to fight him, there would be more money for that, etc. Which is 100% true, except that he may also beat him into a coma. So I'm not taking this as like a brave stance. I'm just taking this as like it makes sense. That was the UFC really not trying to save the fight, to be honest. Because I mean, it's not like Vera versus Rivera is something we're gonna want to see on a main card. It's not like that's a fight that we're gonna really enjoy, unless you're a really big Jimmy Rivera fan or you really hate Marlon Vera. Um, it's a fight that I don't care that we lost. I'm a little disappointed not to see Rivera on the card, but I would not have enjoyed seeing him fight Vera. So it in the end, I really can't complain about it. All right, let's get on to UFC Fight Pass here. We have 4 fights on the Fight Pass, which is a little bit higher than normal. I mean, the last fight card we only had the one. Dmitry Smoilakov versus Cyril Asker. I'm going with Smoilakov on this one because the Russian invasion of heavyweights, which we've seen most recently with Konstantin Rodkin, we've seen it with Ruslan Magomedov, etc. It's been pretty disappointing, all things considered. That being said, Cyril Asker is not someone that I really have a lot of belief in terms of like what he offers to the division. I think he's undersized for a heavyweight. I don't think he's particularly athletic. I don't think he's particularly skilled anywhere, and it's an area that definitely has some problems. He's from, I believe he's from South Africa. Verify that. Yeah, I mean he's 250 pounds, but it's a very he's from actually it's France actually, but yeah, I mean he's 6'2", 250 according to Sherdog, which makes him seem properly sized, but realistically it's a soft 250. I really think he can get a lot lower. Um, Small Akakov, for example, has the same height and similar weight, but I think is a much more solid option there. That being said, not a particularly big heavyweight either. Also a bit older than I thought he was at 34 years of age. Still, Makakov should be able to get this done. I'm taking him by TKO. Joachim Christensen versus Bojam. You know what? I'm actually really bad at some of the Yugoslavian pronunciations, which is weird because it's my heritage. We'll just go with Bojan. Joachim Christensen is a pretty legitimate fighter. I mean, he's not fantastic. Um, he's not a guy who's rising in the division, but he has legitimate skills, and for a relatively shallow pool at 205, he should be able to get things done. Bojan, maybe coming out of heavyweight where he was really undersized, will help him. Maybe we'll see something completely new, but I don't think he has really a lot of particular skills that lead me to believe that he has a lot of chance in this fight. I'm taking Christensen by submission. Devin Powell versus Drakkar Klose. I'm going with Drakkar Klose by unanimous decision. Both these guys are actually somewhat exciting prospects. Not massively. Not get ready for a title run or anything, future champion stuff. But should be an exciting fight. Should be interesting. Nina Ansaroff versus Jocelyn Jones Liebarger. I'm going with Jones Liebarger in a battle of two ladies who are much better than their respective 6-3 and 6-5 records would indicate. That being said, um, they're not really dynamic, and at women's strawweight, I think that's a bit of a problem. They both find it kind of fighting a points fighting style, waiting through for decisions, and I just think that the weight class is the wrong fit for that kind of style. But it is what they have. Uh, Best of luck to both ladies. Walt Harris versus Chase Sherman. Um, Chase Sherman has exceedingly low fight IQ, as shown in his fight with Justin Ledet. Um, at the other side, Walt Harris, I just don't think really has particularly great fight IQ himself, or a particularly deep understanding of how to really take some actual decent skills he does have. Like he hits hard, he hits reasonably fast, reasonably athletic for a heavyweight, but doesn't really seem to understand how to put things together in combination. Doesn't really understand how to develop a game plan or take advantage of enemy fallings. A perfect example was his fight with Shamil Abdurrahimov, a man he had a significant physical advantage over and could not do anything with it remotely impressive. Um, Going with Chase Sherman here by decision, but I mean this is an MMA heavyweight fight, which makes it a bit of a crapshoot to begin with, and it becomes an even bigger crapshoot when you just look at who's involved. Alex White versus Tony Martin. I'm taking Tony Martin by decision. Alex White is, contrary to his performance against Artem Lobov, which I think just highlighted the problems Lobov has. There's not a lot of what's the word I'm seeking here? Process to his style. Very athletic kid, um, exciting, dynamic potentials, but hasn't really shown an ability outside of against Lobov to put it all together. Tony Martin has his own problems, specifically cardio. He cuts a lot of weight to make lightweight, and that tends to kill him. So I see him winning rounds 1 and 2 with a very, very solid grappling game that he has, with a pretty decent striking game as well, like pretty well-rounded skill set, taking rounds 1 and 2, and then losing the third round when he starts to gas out, but it being a bit too late for White to steal the fight. Alexei Olenek versus Victor Pesta. This one has some of the odds that confuse me the most. In the fact that Olenek is like, I've seen Olenek at like plus 600 and stuff, and it's like that is insanity. Just quite blatantly. Um, I mean, yeah, he's had the better run in the UFC. I mean, without doubt, Pest has gone 1 and 3 and a pretty unimpressive loss to or victory over Konstantin Rakin, with getting knocked out with a head kick by Mauricio Tibura in the second round, having success against Derek Lewis, but eventually getting stopped in that fight as well, and then Ruslan Magomedov. But that's not what Olenek really brings to the table. I mean, yes, he knocked out Jared Rosholt, but his game is a grinding submission game that I just think Pest is actually fairly well suited to fighting against. I mean, the big question with Pest is getting knocked out by Tibura with a head kick that's an infinitely bad look. That's some serious problems. And Olenek is a reasonably powerful hitter. So I mean, I understand picking Olenek, and I am going to pick Olenek by decision. There's just a little bit more proven history there than with Pesta, but really, this is a very winnable fight for Pesta, who is a reasonable athlete for the heavyweight division. Had some shine coming in when he fought Ruslan Magomedov in his UFC debut, and just hasn't really found traction. But I mean, if he could, and he could take this fight, you have someone who has maybe some long-term longevity, whereas I think Olenek, kind of the old man, and admittedly the old man's division where they can compete, but not a man who's deemed for particularly long-term success. Frankie Saenz versus Augusto Mendez. I'm taking Saenz by unanimous decision. Mendez is a fantastic grappler, but Saenz is kind of your wrestle kickboxer. Not a terrible striker. He's a pretty good wrestler. Most famously gave Uriah Faber some serious fits. I don't really see Mendez being able to implement much of a takedown game against him. And Mendez's stand-up, I mean, it's been a while since we saw Mendez. Maybe that stand-up is greatly improved, but I see Saenz having the advantage on the feet and being able to keep it there through a Chuck Liddell-esque sprawl and brawl game plan. John Moraga versus Sergio Pettis. I'm having a hard time with this fight because Moraga is the type of fighter that should be able to beat Pettis. I mean, if you think of like Pettis' weaknesses and whatever, but Moraga just looked so terrible in his last fight. Oh, really bad. And he has looked really bad in some other fights, and to the point where I can't really trust him to have like a proper game plan that is based around being able to win rounds and based. Going with Pettis by decision, but I mean honestly, if Moraga comes out here and applies the appropriate pressure game, wrestling based offense, and so on, this is an incredibly winnable fight for him. It's kind of like the Pesta Olenek fight, where like I very much see a path to victory for the guy I'm not picking. It's just that it, he just hasn't really shown a great deal of ability to find that pathway. Court McGee, Ben Saunders. Going with Ben Saunders. Court McGee's been really kind of unimpressive in his last like large number of outings. Really, his welterweight career as a whole has been a bit lackluster. Coming in beating Josh Neer, the split decision against Robert Whitaker, which a lot of people disagree with, losing to Ryan LaFleur, beating Marcio Alexander Jr. relatively unconvincing fashion, which TKO by Ponzinibbio, and then beating Dominic Steele in a fight that if Steele had more of a game plan, fight IQ, etc., he probably would have been able to win. It's just kind of hard to pick him against Saunders, who is a reasonably smart fighter, even if he does have some flaws, specifically the takedown defense realm. But I mean, if you try to take him down, he will punish you with that dangerous clinch of his. Very good from bottom, very dangerous sub game, powerful, good range striking. Not the prototype for like long term success. Really, he's kind of the to be honest, he's kind of the anti successful metagame fighter, but he should be able to beat up McGee on the feet to a reasonably large degree and take a decision here. And if it goes to the ground, he's got the grappling chops to probably hold his own there as well, and possibly even out grapple Court McGee. Joe Lozon, Marcin Held, going with Joe Lozon via TKO stoppage. Held is a really good grappler, but one who doesn't necessarily have any particular regard for how he's going to win rounds, how he's going to really take advantage. Like he's a bit of a leg lock specialist. He's got other things going for him. Don't get me wrong, but like he has that leg lock specialist mentality of kind of just going for submissions or bust. Lozon, really good counter grappler, pretty good striker. And we saw we really did see where Held striking was in the Sanchez fight, where yes, he looked okay on the feet, but that's against Diego Sanchez, who is miles removed from a good actual striking display. And Lozon, I mean, of course, also a man to stop Diego Sanchez finally. Good striker. Some levels of question about cardio always apply with Lozon. Maybe he can get caught late, but the thing is, I just don't see Held surviving long enough for that to even really become a factor. So Joe Lozon by TKO. Yeah, Rodriguez, BJ Penn. I'm going with Rodriguez all the way because at this point I cannot pick BJ Penn. My question repetitively was, could Rodriguez be the first guy to really get a proper finish of BJ Penn? Because historically, BJ Penn has been finished via kind of an attrition set of strategies. And guys who are not necessarily per se great finishers. Rodriguez is much more dynamic than, for example, a Frankie Edgar in terms of finishes, or a George St. Pierre of the more established St. Pierre years, or certainly a Matt Hughes, who are the only men to have ever finished BJ Penn, but it's kind of like breaking him mentally and being so on him in that regard that you can get that done. I'm not entirely certain Yair Rodriguez is that guy. I think that there are some levels of success Penn can have against Yair Rodriguez because there are a lot of flaws, I think, in Rodriguez's game. I mean, his striking offense is very unorthodox, very dynamic, but very unorthodox in the sense that, I mean, he's very kick heavy. He's very non-standard technique heavy that can lead to some troubles It's just that I don't see Penn at this point in time with the really just a lot of controversy surrounding his camp. The fact that I think he's getting a bit old. I think the featherweight's always been a bit of a nasty cut for him. Um, there's no reason to make me think that he really can triumph in this fight. But I do see a couple of moments. I do see maybe a couple of highlights for Penn in this fight. It's kind of weird. It's a fighter that is well above his pay grade at this point in Yair Rodriguez. Not in terms of literal pay. I just mean like from a ranking standpoint and so on. It's just at the same time there's some things about Rodriguez that make this fight in some ways bizarrely competitive, um, but not really winnable. Um, I gonna go with Rodriguez by decision because I do not know if he can wear Penn down or 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 deprive Penn of any real offense that's going to lead to Penn kind of mentally quitting because I do to a degree chop up, except for the Edgar fight, to be largely a little bit of mental quitting with Penn whenever he gets stopped, especially the GSP fight, and I don't know if I see that happening here. Still, that's a super interesting fight. I mean, for a pretty lackluster main card otherwise. I mean, Saunders McGee actually that should be just a good fight. I think Pettis Moraga has some potential. I think Lozon Held is yeah, it's not a great fight. I'd like to see Held just like bust up some wrestler's legs or something, but yeah, we get what we get. Pesta Olenek is maybe the most interesting fight on the card for me, but that's because I'm a glutton for punishment and love heavyweight mediocrity. We'll see what happens with that. Also going on this week, you got the Invicta 21 card with Megan Anderson versus Charmine Tweet. That's going to be a pretty good fight. Aspen Ladd's on the card. She's a really exciting prospect. Heather Hardy's making her MMA debut. Big name in the boxing world to a degree. Andrea Lee's on the card. She's another promising prospect. If you've not checked out Invicta cards, I really recommend it. Women's MMA has got its own kind of promotion, and the fights are good. The ladies tend to go out there and try and prove something, and they've got a good stable fighters there. So I highly encourage that. Um, that is all for this card, and just in general, usual links are in the description. Like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you on the next fight card.